Good day, everybody. Today is Wednesday, November the 6th, and this is episode 28 of Tell Me What You Know. What do you got? You got nothing.
I got nothing.
Unprepared.
Well, I just turned 32.
I was going to say, yesterday was your birthday.
Yesterday was my birthday.
November 5th.
Remember.
Yeah, okay.
Don't steal my line.
I'll let you say it. Yeah, your line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Came up with that.
Right. Happy birthday. I didn't get you anything yet.
That's okay.
I'll bring you back some kind of trinkets from South America.
Leaving on Friday, huh?
I'm heading down to Argentina on Friday for my friend Nacho Ferrari's wedding.
Nacho Ferrari.
All-time name.
His real name's Ignacio.
Correct.
Okay.
But all nachos are Ignacios.
Right. That's like the nickname.
I think I read on whatever the equivalent of an Outback Steakhouse is to a Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
Like a On the Border or something. One of those. They had like one of those little flip charts on the table that said, "Did you know that Ignacio is the creator of nachos?" So that's when I first learned it. And then I actually met some nachos. Ignacios. Super interesting stuff.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
You excited to go back?
I am excited. I'm excited for a little bit of summer in the middle of this cold spell that we're having.
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous about that.
Yeah.
It got kind of cold.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to coming back Sunday night, getting here Monday morning, and going straight to work. I think that's going to be a little bit painful.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try not to think about that while I'm having a good time down there.
Don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah. I'll be coming straight from a wedding that'll probably end around 7 a.m. and then hopefully sleep some that day.
Yeah.
Definitely sleep on the plane, I would imagine, though,
right?
For
sure.
Yeah.
You knock yourself out.
Perfect. I have a follow-up to a topic that you had several weeks ago. I don't remember. On your UFO topic.
Okay.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
No.
So the Navy pilot was on Joe Rogan.
Yes. I saw that he went on it, but I haven't watched the episode, which I should.
Apparently a lot of the files from that day have gone missing.
Really?
Yeah. So the aircraft carrier, the USS Princeton, that initially picked up the blips and had these pilots kind of divert and go check them out, has lost all their radar tapes. And the logbooks, a page from the logbooks is missing. And apparently, as soon as they got done with the mission, they went back, they made copies of the tapes, they wrapped them up, put them in a safe on the Princeton, and those are missing.
I mean, so yeah, they got taken.
I mean,
they got destroyed.
How does this happen?
They're not lost. It's not.
Sure.
It's like
they're missing. They're missing.
Somebody knows where they are.
They're probably nowhere now.
Yeah, they're in a bunker.
I mean, or they're just not.
They're with the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones.
That's right. And the Holy Grail. And all that stuff.
That's wild. I'm going to watch that.
Maybe we should storm Area 51 now.
They wouldn't put it there.
I don't know.
That's wild, though.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's like this guy's the top of the top too. This was like Top Gun pilot school, like all that. Like he was the. So if he's lying or he's misremembering, then we're in terrible shape because this is our top guy.
I don't think he set out to have a career because of UFOs.
Right. Right. Exactly. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow up on that.
The truth is out there.
Scully and Mulder are
That's right.
Going somewhere right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to give a little update there.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to talk about?
No.
I have like a 3% success rate with that question for you.
I know. I've been so focused on my topic that.
Don't forget his name. Don't forget his name.
I got all these facts I got in my head that.
All right, let's jump into it.
I had to. Next time I'll have something for us.
No, don't force it. If it happens, it happens.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So I will go ahead then. Michael, tell me what you know about fake news.
Ooh. So it's a term. I mean, I'm going to give it to Trump. I think he coined it.
Okay.
But maybe somebody else said it. Yeah, it's different than I think propaganda.
Okay.
Even though they're essentially the same thing. But to me, Trump uses it in a way to think that there are real fake stories being written. Mm-hmm. And they mostly stem, like the fake news is generally the liberal media. Okay. Not generally for him.
Yeah.
Fox News.
I think we'll get to that. Do you think that he actually thinks it's fake, or is he using it as as a tool to? Isn't
this one of the most odd questions to know? Does Trump believe everything? Right. And so he's such a good liar because he believes it? It's like that George Costanza bit. Like, It's not a lie if you believe it.
Right.
or is he's so nefarious and so calculating and so he's too old to be calculating to me. I think it's probably a mixture.
Yeah.
But I think it's sort of like he goes back to the same playbook and the same denial.
Sure.
And yeah.
All right. Well, so he for sure popularized the term in the 2016 election.
Yep.
But fake news dates back to more than a century ago in the 1890s.
So it's fake news.
Well, it was called yellow journalism then.
Okay.
So I'll kind of give you a background. There were two big competing newspapers. They were fierce rivals, the New York World and the New York Journal. And so in order to sell papers, they would make up headlines and stories just to help their profits, right?
Kind of like the tabloids.
Sure, exactly.
But,
exactly.
Yeah.
So like an example of one of these was that in 1898, the USS Maine exploded off the coast of Cuba. And this was kind of a catalyst for the Spanish-American War, right? Mm-hmm. So basically the American press, the headlines were saying, Spanish treachery and destruction of the warship was work of the enemy, that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it was just, very much before the facts were out there.
Right. It was incendiary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
William Randolph Hearst, you may have heard his name before. He was the New York Journal guy. He offered a reward for the detection of the perpetrator, whoever did this kind of thing.
Okay.
So in 1898, the naval court found that it was blown up by a submerged mine.
Okay.
They said maybe it was an accident. In recent research, though, they say that the explosion was probably an accident involving a spontaneous combustion fire in the coal bunker of the ship, right?
Okay. Maybe like a spark or something?
Right.
Yeah.
So it was super unclear what actually happened. The newspapers ran with it, and it definitely was it spurred along, it kind of expedited it definitely made tensions bad between the Americans and the Spanish, then the war obviously followed.
Right.
Right. So this kind of stuff, like the sensationalist journalism, got so bad during World War I, they started the government started to kind of censor the bullshit that was out there. Mm-hmm. But all right, so where does the name come about? Do you have any idea? Yellow journalism.
I mean, when I think yellow, I think it's kind of a racial slur.
Right.
But where does it come from?
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Okay.
It is there was a comic strip that was popular back then called The Yellow Kid.
Okay.
And it was this kid in the big night shirt, that's big sleeping shirt. It was yellow. And I think it was depicting a poor child from a poor family in the inner city of New York City, basically.
Okay.
And he kind of talked like a hick or whatever. And basically, the only two papers that ran this comic, from what I understand, are these two newspapers. And so they started calling them, the yellow papers, the yellow comic papers, and then just turned to yellow papers, and then eventually yellow journalism.
Okay.
And so
if you published it, you're being put in that group of yellow journalism.
Right. So the New York World and the New York Journal, they were accused of these editorial practices of sensationalism and just as using profit as the bottom line, and not actual the news. Mm-hmm. So that's the history of it. I think what we're dealing with today is a little bit different, right? So it seems like a lot of stuff that's being called fake news is just being called fake news because the person doesn't agree with it.
Or doesn't want it to be popularized. I mean, it's just a complete denial.
Right. Yeah.
But even a step further to say, it's different than just saying, no, that's not true. It's no, you're being
purposely misleading.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Which is a different thing. It's another step, at least.
Exactly. Well, it just makes everything.
Well, because it shows that you would have an agenda, not I'm just trying to sell newspapers or something.
Right. And I'm just now thinking we're going to probably messed up a lot of this information, and we're about to get just blasted for fake news on this podcast.
Well, it'd be fake news anyway.
That's right. We are just.
Well, I mean, that's the most dangerous part about it, right? Is that if there is no true north.
Right. Exactly.
Then you're kind of screwed.
Well, that true north is so blurred now that it just makes you lose all faith in any kind of media.
You can't trust anything.
No.
You as an individual can't really go track down all these stories, and you drive yourself crazy.
Right.
Not to mention you just don't have time.
Yeah. There's also just tons of tabloids and stuff like that are probably just they're still using that sensationalized media or journalism to sell issues.
Right.
Right.
But how funny is it that Trump was basically being protected, and some stories are coming out. I on Bill Maher this last week, Farrow, what's his name?
Ronan Farrow?
Ronan Farrow has a new book out talking about how the tabloids would buy up stories for rich people and then basically hold them. So it's like, if you if you don't want to have this story come out, we'll pay you $250,000 and we'll put it in a drawer. Well, Trump was very well connected with the New York Post, right? And I believe it's the Post,
right?
And they have a bunch of stories that he was running. So basically, the tabloids that he used the tabloids to buy stories, like he has children out of wedlock and all that stuff. Gotcha. He has like, these rogue children and these different stories. Yeah, but he's the one promoting fake news. But literally, it's like the Bat Boy comic. The newspapers that you'd see is like the Bat Boys found in Pennsylvania, like so sensationalized.
Yeah, well, they all are.
But I mean, there's like definitely like a Bat Boy or Bigfoot is certainly another level of fake news where it's like almost like dessert for your brain.
Yeah, it reminds me of those like if you're just super bored and you're going through the Instagram stories and like every third one you get an ad and it's like, you won't believe what she found in her closet after buying this new house, and then it's just nothing.
It's pure clickbait.
Exactly.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's pure clickbait. I thought it was interesting when I was looking this up. A county in Florida, Citrus County, their city commissioners, or their county commissioners, I guess, they refused to pay $2,700 to the New York Times for subscriptions at their public library because they said the New York Times is fake news. They have 70,000 library card holding citizens, and they refused to buy the New York Times subscription. They refused to spend money on that.
This is current day, right? Like This is right now.
Yes.
That's crazy.
They said it's fake news. One of them came back and said we shouldn't have let personal, opinions get in the way of what our citizens may or may not want. And the other four are kind of like, no, we stand like we're Trump supporters. We think the New York Times is fake news. So we will not be giving money to. They can use the library can use the money for something else or something like that.
Do you think that goes like a free speech issue? Like you're withholding information, so you're in effect censoring people's knowledge. You're censoring what people can say to your constituents. Now you're forcing them to, you're buying it collectively,
right?
And I don't know where you would draw the line with like, I got a newspaper, you better buy mine. I don't know, but it's
it's like it's a tough situation because if you buy that one, you got to, I guess, buy them all.
Buy them all.
I don't know.
But I mean, it's New York Times. It's kind of it's a well-respected.
Not to county commissioners in Citrus County, Florida.
But it's just, it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
And my thing is, if you're going to call somebody a liar, you better be able to back it up. And none of these people back it up.
Well, it's just how they feel.
Hey. Well,
yeah.
Well, then I think they're little snowflakes then. I mean, then you're just the complete denial.
Bunch of boomers.
Yeah.
We talk about how boomers becoming the word now.
Man.
We won't get on
the
that
generational wars.
That's right. Somebody equated it to the N-word the other day.
Calling somebody a boomer?
Yes. It was ageism.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's insane.
So I've read multiple tweets that are like, can I say boomer if it's in a rap song? So Twitter remains undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
The last topic I want to cover, let's move to this one. Talk about Zuckerberg for a little bit and all of this.
I have feelings about this.
Yeah, I thought you might. So he and Facebook are under fire recently because of their political ad policy, basically saying that we're going to allow politicians to run targeted ads and they're not going to fact check them or censor them or anything like that. I think you can see both sides of the argument. Obviously, you don't want to be spreading lies, but I think his opinion is that it's not a private company's job to police whether things are true or not.
And that's exactly kind of what I would say.
Right.
I mean, it's not on them to say what is true or false or not. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, I kind of agreed with the viewpoint he had that if you're running for office and you put something out there in an ad and sponsor it, like it's coming from your campaign, and it's so false, I want to know that you're a big liar. And if you're a liar, then that helps me say that I'm not voting for you.
Right.
But obviously, I see the cloud. It's not that easy to see through that stuff, and especially for the mass population.
Well, and especially when they're using like micro-targeting techniques as well, because a large part of the population will never see these ads.
Right.
So I think maybe if they got rid of micro-targeting, that could be an answer, where they just run these ads. I don't know.
I have feelings about this too, because I think Facebook's value is more. It's so much more valuable to a small business and people that really want to use
a small county commissioner in Citrus, Florida that wants to run a campaign on why the New York Times is fake news.
It's just it sells so many other things, and it talks about so many other things besides politics. That to say that you can't micro target or help people say like, hey man, I really am selling something, but I only really want to sell it to this specific group of people, and instead of having to go raise a bunch of money to have a big marketing campaign, I just want to get my ad and my message in front of these people. I'm not trying to do anything nefarious or lead people in a bad way or sell a bad product.
Right.
It's just that we live in this culture of everything is so dishonest and corner cutting and
but it's
everything.
okay. Let's say like, I don't know, 30,000 people in Florida see this one ad or something like that, right? And let's just say it's full of lies or whatever like that. Right. Not being able to call that out is like, because you don't see it.
Well, I mean, so similarly, if you're a newspaper and you write something and then somebody says that's wrong, and the paper has the right to a retraction, and that relieves them of their legal duty, I believe. They can't be sued for libel.
Right. But what I'm saying is that I think a lot of people will never see this fake ad.
But I would say the same thing about the retraction, right? So
never see the retraction?
I mean, it's there, but how many times do you think people are going to go and be like, I want to look at the retractions? I think
at least it's on paper though.
It's true. Yeah. I think it's a really tough situation, but I think I wouldn't want to put more power in Facebook's hands. Right.
Well, so Jack Dorsey for Twitter has said they're going to not run political ads at all. And I thought the quote was pretty good. He said that political reach should be earned, not paid for. So you shouldn't be able to just go out and like, you should have your following and be able to promote whatever you want on your own channels, but not be able to pay for that reach. Which again is tough for maybe.
You're paying for it someplace. You're going to go to a more expensive ad buy. You're going to go put it on television, or you're going to have to go buy it someplace.
Okay.
Or you're going to have to pay for more volunteers. Nothing's free, right? So
no, for sure.
So I understand what he's saying, and I also kind of understand it as just.
It also just gets it off
Twitter
the plate.
is so toxic.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see more fake stuff written.
It gets it off their plate for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I like the move.
I think it's so 50-50.
Yeah.
But for people, I think for people to come out and call Zuckerberg such horrible things and say that he's like actively doing things that are trying to undermine our democracy and stuff, like I'm not in Mark Zuckerberg's head, but I think that's a little
bit of a stretch.
Like I think that's a bit hyperbole.
Yeah.
To be that he's oh my God, Zuckerberg. I think he's the
guy's a robot.
Yeah, and what's so odd about these social networks now is like they're so much bigger than even the largest kingdoms ever. There's so many people on Facebook that he's overseeing. And how do you deal with that? I don't know. And because of that, you're having to deal with problems that have to work at scale.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can have every ad reviewed by a person in a timely manner that makes the service still useful.
True.
You'd have a big backlog of ads that are being reviewed and be like, oh, our ad's going to come out in 3 weeks. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just saying it's going to have to work at some level of scale. Mm-hmm. And somebody's going to, their whole point is you can go post something and it gets put into the feed and a computer's doing it and all that stuff. And I don't know. It's a hard problem.
I'm sure there's a lot more of this to be seen. We don't have any answers yet. I'm sure that we probably won't ever have any answers, but.
Well, people want to start using antitrust laws to break up these companies. And I don't understand how the antitrust laws coming from the 1920s are going to have any effect on how we do this. We have to come up with all this from the get-go. And I don't think, or come up with it all again, I don't think breaking them up is necessarily the solution to the problem. It's just fracturing these larger things, and now you've got 20 problems rather than, 4 big social networks or whatever.
Yeah. Well, if you made it to this part and you've gotten through all the political talk, actually, I really kind of like that talk though. I mentioned that fake news was the Oxford Dictionary had adopted it as a word, right? Wow. I want to give you 3 more that made it in with it. Slam dunk made it in.
That was all this year? Slam dunk wasn't
October
in before?
9th.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, October 9th, they officially recognized fake news. Slam dash dunk.
What's interesting about slam dunk is it's also a political term too. Like Iraq. That was no. It was It was like a slam dunk decision. They talk about WMDs. I'm just bringing this up as like
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, like this is a slam dunk.
Meaning like it's a sure thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The WMDs
like
were in Iraq.
Okay. All right. The other word, promposal.
Promposal.
Yeah. So like you ask somebody to go to prom in some kind of fancy way.
Okay.
Yeah. As a boomer, you might not know what that is. And the last one I saw was circle jerk. So
they had
fake
to put
news,
that one in.
slam dunk, promposal, and circle jerk all in the OED now.
Who do you think first proposed this? Like, do you think they had circle jerk on a list and they were like, "What do you think we should?"
Circle
bring
jerk's like the guy who's been on the Hall of Fame ballot for 15 years.
Yeah,
and
like
can't quite get enough votes to get in.
He's really been working on this.
You got to let circle jerk in. His career is incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
let him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the OED's board is that has this thing. I think this would be a really good topic. It's just words that have been added in recently.
Totally.
Maybe a little mini topic or something.
I like that.
So that's a briefing on fake news. I'm sure that we misquoted a ton of stuff there.
Well, I mean,
and now we're just proliferating the fake news media.
I mean, it hasn't been around very long.
Yeah,
4 years since it's been kind of this modern.
1890, Michael.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's what I mean. Like
Yellow
propaganda, fake news.
Right.
It's just do you have a real purpose and like?
Right. It's just masked in a new name.
Masked in a new name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spreading bad info.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to go to kind of a fun topic. This is something I've been.
Excuse me, what was my topic?
Oh, very fun. I'm just bringing it up. I'm going to go to some fun little topic.
All right.
One that's not divisive.
I'll be the judge of that.
Maybe. Michael, tell me what you know about treasure hunting.
Have you ever heard of geocaching before?
Is that a game? Is that a show?
It's an app on your phone, and it's played by everybody worldwide that has the app.
Okay.
So I played it like one time in Buenos Aires, Argentina, actually.
Really?
Yeah. You download this app, and you basically it's like got a GPS on it, and it shows there are like. I don't know if it's like latitude, longitude, or if it's just like kind of like pinpoints a general location where a cache would be.
Okay.
And so my friend and I found a cache in this park in Buenos Aires. And what you're supposed to do is just you find it, you take a picture, you can add something to it if you want to. It was literally like a coin, like a little mini Charizard figurine. And that was about it. So super
So it's like a virtual world laid over, like a Pokemon almost.
It's real stuff there though.
Oh, there's real stuff
Real
there?
physical items are left in these spots like all over the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so you go and you check in, you found it, that kind of thing.
And then you put it back?
You put it back.
Huh.
Yeah, you're supposed to put it back. We put it back.
Put it back.
Yeah. So that's kind of like
clues or anything? Or
I can't remember exactly how it worked. I think there are clues. I think people that have found it can leave hints. You're not supposed to say like exactly where it is. And I think the map kind of gives you a circle, like a kind of like it's within this radius basically.
That's kind of fun.
The idea of it was great, and then we found the treasure. We kind of let down, but we found it.
Did it look like a treasure thing, or was it like a geocache?
I can pull up a picture of exactly
coin,
what it looked like.
something?
I'm pretty sure my friend has this posted on Instagram somewhere. We can just cut. Let me find this for you real quick.
No, it's something similar too. There's a treasure hunt that's they did this in Seattle. There was one like kind of it's more of like a.
It wasn't a Charizard. It was a cat. We'll post a picture of this
with a Bitcoin thing.
That's not a Bitcoin. That's a peso.
Oh,
they're worth about the same. What does it say? It says geocaching. This is a game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was the loot.
I think that's really cool.
So that was my treasure hunting experience.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, X marks the spot. You get a map, a treasure map, and you go to a deserted island. You find where the coconut tree is right past the rock. And then you start digging.
So where all this lore comes from, it comes from
Robinson Crusoe.
It comes from Treasure Island, the book by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Okay.
So Robert Louis Stevenson wrote Treasure Island, and in the book there's a character, Long John Silver.
I love their fish.
Right. And he's got a peg leg, and he's a pirate, and he's got a parrot, and where all that comes from is from Treasure Island.
Okay.
So that really like glamorized pirates.
Okay.
Whereas before, like pirates were not necessarily glamorous.
No.
You know, I mean, they're stealing stuff from boats.
Yeah.
Stealing booty.
They started stocks, basically. You sent 4 ships to the East Indies, and then
right.
they ended up coming back with 2.
Right.
Because of pirates.
But now because, you know, things change and gets glamorized, it's kind of fun. Like, all right.
You get Johnny Depp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where it really comes from. X marks the spot is in there. Now, obviously, with other treasures, X never marks the spot. That's one of my favorite Indiana Jones lines in Last Crusade.
Okay.
He's
That's a
teaching.
trap.
He's teaching the class. He's like, real. Well, so I'll lead into this next part because I tied it with Indiana Jones. There's. How do you consider archaeology and just treasure hunting? Because they're very similar. Like they exist in the same world.
I think people who treasure hunt.
A guy on
archaeologists
a
are
beach
just
with
nerd treasure hunters.
Yeah. Well,
They're probably not going to keep their loot. Treasure hunters, I think, are doing it for themselves.
Well, so they butt heads a lot. Archaeologists and treasure hunters.
Right.
Now, if you're on
Matthew
if you're on
McConaughey
a
at Fool's
beach-
Gold was not an archaeologist.
No.
An archaeologist.
No.
He was a treasure hunter. Yeah.
If you're if you're on a beach with a metal detector, you are not an archaeologist. I think we can agree.
You're just bored.
Exactly. Those things cost. I looked those up. Those things are like $1,000.
I feel like Scott
for
would
a
have one of
decent
those.
one. Oh, I could see Scott getting so into this.
Yeah.
Today he was talking about Cortez and so, and I didn't bring him. I was like thinking about this, but yeah, I mean that I could totally see him getting into that.
Sidebar, sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, an archaeologist has the desire to like preserve, whereas a treasure hunter sort of has this desire to get this thing to market. Now they do have like parallel incentives in that having something that is well preserved would increase its value,
Right.
And therefore they can kind of see things together.
Okay.
But you know, they also might have a treasure hunter might see dollar signs and be more risky with perhaps, you know, charging into a pyramid or something, or like opening up a
Or just digging
sarcophagus. What did I say?
Sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
Yeah, it's sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
Yeah. Chris Christopherson.
And just, you know, exposing it, and now you've got, I don't know, maybe it needed to be sealed for air, something, whatever you wanted to do. But yeah, no, there's like they still butt heads of like archaeology conventions. Like treasure hunters will come, and then sometimes they kind of could be the same people. For instance, I'll leave to get to that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, go into some like fun
Okay.
buried treasures.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the first guys that really made this big was this guy, Mr. Heinrich Schliemann. He's
Yeah.
a German guy. He analyzed and dissected Homer's The Iliad, and in 1873 found the location of the lost city of Troy in Turkey. And he kind of like made it glamorous to look at old texts maybe and go try to find stuff.
Yeah.
Other people, like, so in 1985, this guy Mel Fisher recovered $450 million of gold and silver from the 1622 Spanish ship Nuestra Senora de Atocha, Atocha.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not impossible to find a crazy amount of gold someplace. There's stories that I was reading about people walking their dog in Northern California and stumbling upon $11 million worth of gold that they think was stolen from a local like gold rush cache of gold that was being stored someplace and then taken. And so they stole the gold, buried it, and then
For whatever
stayed there
reason,
forever.
never came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually, when I was researching this subject, somebody, the San Francisco Chronicle, 2 authors put out a fantastic story about this fisherman in Monterey Bay.
Okay.
He is a bottom troller, and so the way he fishes, he like runs a net on the bottom of the ocean,
Right.
picks up all the fish and brings them back in. So he puts a GoPro on his fishing net, essentially, and he uses it to like study his practice and figure out like better ways to get more fish and stuff. So he says at one night he's just studying some footage, and he sees these like gold flakes in the water.
Yeah.
And starts examining the footage closer, finds a lot of these things, and they look like gold bars essentially.
Jesus.
Sends the footage to somebody who's more in line. No, so this is over several years of doing this. So he really starts looking into it. The Monterey Bay is very deep.
Okay.
He thinks that this area where this sunken treasure might be could be upwards of over 1,000 feet deep. And so just getting the logistics of that is absolutely insane. I didn't really realize how insane that is.
You need James Cameron.
You need James Cameron. You need a serious team. Like it could cost tens of millions of dollars trying to get something from down there with different equipment. And I mean, the just the pressure of sending something down there is insane. And then also picking up gold down there, especially if it's like a brick, like gold bullion or something. Gold is 1.7 times denser or heavier than an equal volume amount of lead. So I mean, it's really heavy.
Yeah.
So just think about that. I mean, have you ever held like a lead? Maybe you go to the dentist and you put on like lead vests. That thing's really heavy.
Yeah.
Lead's really heavy.
Yeah.
So it's like just thinking about trying to grab that and pull it up. It's nearly impossible.
Right.
This story doesn't have an ending that this fisherman got the gold.
What happened?
It's still down there.
Let's go.
It's
Also, it seems like if it's going to cost that much, the juice might not be worth the squeeze to get down there and find it's only like 4 bars.
Exactly. So
I don't know what 4 gold bars.
So there are some other interesting. So there's some other. I'm going to now just jump into some fun stuff. There's supposedly a Nazi gold train that was. They loaded it with gold when they knew that the empire was falling, and put it into like a mine shaft in Belgium, I think, and sealed it up, and then so in the late 2000s, like 2013, I think, or no, like late 2008.
Okay.
These 2 treasure hunters get a confession of this guy dying about where this train thing is, but where it is.
Okay.
And they work with the government. I think it was in Poland. They work with the Polish government to actually go and find it, and they negotiated a 10% finder's fee if there's something in there. And then the word got out that they're doing this.
So then you have a lot of vigilante treasure hunters.
You have now the word's out. Now you can't control it. Whatever. They thought that they had found it using some ground penetrating radar, and ended up being a bunch of ice. Didn't find the train, but they were pretty sure this train exists. And because there are other instances of the Nazis destroying stuff or sinking stuff.
Yeah.
They sank a bunch of fake banknotes.
Okay.
That they had produced to help, with the thought that creating these fake banknotes would flood the market and ruin the economy of Great Britain.
Right.
Didn't really work, but millions of dollars of these banknotes they pulled out of the water. So there's some logic that they would have done this.
Right. Can we go back for a second? The guy who gave this confession, was he a Nazi? Do you know?
They didn't say whether or not he was a Nazi. I think he might have been a Nazi or
sounds like
in Germany.
Sounds like this Nazi was trying to pull a prank on people.
Maybe. But that's the interesting part. If you're dying,
alleged, perhaps, maybe Nazi. I don't want to call him.
What's Nazi. The incentive? I guess like you kind of want to pass it on. I don't know.
I don't know, but depending on what his background is, he might just be a huge asshole.
That's true. That's true. Well, no. What's also interesting is that the town that they thought this train was in, they think that they've gotten upwards of $200 million worth of free advertising because of this story. And they are actually going to build a replica train. And I think it opened in 2013 for people to come like just experience this whole fake idea. So they've turned this whole thing into like a tourist attraction. The town basically kind of struck gold with this story.
Oh my God.
I mean, come on. There's also a similar story about a Confederate gold train.
Yes. All that Fetty gold.
All of this is it's very similar tales, right? Like we're going to lose the war. Mm-hmm. Get rid of this gold. We don't want to give it to
if we can't have it, nobody can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's so interesting. It's so much fun thinking that it's out there.
Yeah.
You could stumble onto it.
Huh.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
This guy, Forrest Fenn, he was a Colorado resident.
Yeah.
Old man. He wanted to create something that gave people hope. So he took, supposedly, upwards of $2 million of jewels and cash and buried it someplace and left a note, a poem, It's a little long. I don't know if I would read it because it's kind of it's just sort of like.
Did you read it already?
Yeah. The best part is that the main clue, like a main clue in it, is putting below the home of Brown.
Ah. We don't have any family out there.
No?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a very common last name, so I could see why you would think that. But I don't think we have any Colorado.
There
also,
is.
I wouldn't tell you.
What?
You're keeping that to myself.
What I find interesting about this is it's $2 million. You know.
Oh, is that chump change for you?
No, I'm just saying 3 people have died going after this stuff.
This particular
particular treasure. Uh-huh. They like hiking and falling and like people drown in a river trying to go after this. So it's sort of like, I don't know. Is that I'd really want $2 million if you're putting your life on the line. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like I'll read the whole poem and I'll decide.
Okay. Well, it could be anywhere in the Southwest, supposedly.
Oh, not just in Colorado.
It's not just Colorado. There's thoughts that it's in New Mexico.
Okay.
There's thoughts that it's in Utah.
Yeah.
One guy I watched a video on thought that the home of Brown meant the home of brown trout, and it was near this river that.
Does UPS have a facility out there?
It's just it's just left in the corner at a UPS facility. Yeah. That's great.
It's a package with no return address on it.
Yeah.
Just sitting there.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting, and it's kind of fun. I like that it exists. I mean, it's kind of fun that you could go do this treasure hunt, treasure adventure. Gives people some hope.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
other little fun facts.
Maybe disillusions folks more than anything.
Don't go kill yourself.
It kind of ruins their lives, I would think, more than anything.
Please
else.
Don't go kill yourself going after this. First earliest known use of the term X marks the spot is 1813.
Okay. Was it just an X drawn in sand or something?
Yeah, I mean,
which is a terrible thing to do because there's wind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the origins of this it's sort of stupid. It sort of seems like more like
fairy tale.
More like a fairy tale, because if why would you X marks the spot? Why would you target something so specifically? Right. X right here if you're burying something.
Well, it could have been that it was a map meant for somebody, not like that would be the giveaway for a specific person, right?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, if I get caught, I'll bury this thing here. X will mark the spot. Something like that.
Yeah.
So then you have like a specific person you're trying to get this message across to.
Yeah.
And before that was a term, I mean, somebody's like, oh, look at this random X on the ground. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Now we're like, oh,
we better start digging.
Treasure here. That's right.
Yeah, no, I think it's also pretty fun thinking. There are a lot of boats and stuff that have sunk, and there's not a record of this. Like even in the Monterey Bay Peninsula, as they were bringing up, where could this gold have come from that this fisherman had found?
Right.
They have records of hundreds of boats being sunk.
Yeah.
But they estimate that there are hundreds more that they don't know about.
Okay.
So you really don't know. And with the gold rush, you don't know if some boat went out there trying to get to, I don't know, Mexico.
Yeah, especially a boat carrying that much gold, probably not going to try not to be on the books, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The fewer people that know about it, though,
it's probably going to be secretive.
Right.
Some of the other people that go after treasure hunters or because there are other things that could be antiquities that would be valuable to people. Like people find a bunch of U-boats and, different
Titanic.
Titanic. I mean, just getting down there and just filming it, I think, was valuable to James Cameron's death. I hope.
Well, it definitely made his own self-worth rise, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I love that South Park.
It's so good.
But yeah, no, it's definitely a really interesting subject, and that's kind of where I was bringing up earlier. Like, you could probably do a whole topic on just one of these, buried treasures or lost treasures, because there's a ton of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I didn't even read anything about like Asian treasures or treasures in the Orient, which I'm sure there are equal amount of stories about.
Just tons of samurai swords.
Samurai swords, yeah. Crazy stuff. So, treasure hunting. Yeah. I do find it hilarious, the people just with a metal detector.
Yes, for sure.
I read a story about a guy who lost his wedding ring in his house. Yeah, but they're looking for
jewelry and stuff, right? Yeah, exactly.
22 years he lost this ring, and some guy came over with a metal detector, found it.
In his house?
It was like in his backyard somewhere. It went down a drain and then went into the backyard. Oh, wow. I don't know. I mean, he said the guy was very appreciative. I mean, obviously.
Right.
But he was like crying about it. It was very emotional.
For 22 years?
22 years, yeah. He couldn't find this wedding ring.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go geocaching again.
I really like the idea of that app. That's a fun idea.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that they had to go put a physical item. I like the fact that they did.
Yeah.
I feel like today, if we were building this app, we'd probably be like, oh, you can't do that. I'll just do a digital thing like a Pokemon.
Right. Well, see, I don't know how it a spot starts. I think maybe you can as a member, you could be like, I'm going to start a spot.
Oh, you can opt in.
Yeah.
You kind of crowdsource it to
I'll leave something. Yeah, it wouldn't be like, I don't think the geocaching creators went around to different places and left treasures. Because it's, from what I understand, it's pretty much everywhere.
A global game.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We should do a little geocache.
We'll check it out. We'll pull up the app after this and see if there's any caches around us. Maybe if it's even still a thing.
There's a part of me that wants to put some real value someplace near us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like even I'll put $1,000 in the ground.
Tell me what you know sticker.
Tell me what, yeah.
$1,000 in the ground.
It'd be fun to see if people will actually go get it.
Yeah. All right.
I think people would.
I totally won't play.
I actually had that idea.
It won't be, if I go with you, it will not be there when people start to play this.
I actually had this idea to use a buried treasure idea for gridlock. So each time somebody would get a full grid correct,
yes,
it would open up one number in a latitude longitude where we had buried treasure. So as these things get gotten,
yes,
it becomes more and more likely where it is.
Right.
I don't know. It's fun.
Scavenger hunt.
A little scavenger hunt.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much, as always, for listening. We have a brand new studio we didn't mention. So if you're watching this on Twitter or on YouTube, brand new, sparkling, state-of-the-art studio.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah. The highest tech you can get. We literally just turned a table 90 degrees. Different backdrop.
And yeah, we moved the curtains we already had hanging.
But yeah, follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. You can watch the recordings of these podcasts now if you'd like to.
Yeah. Coming out on Fridays.
Feel free to interact. This will be dropping this Friday. And we're debating how we're going to do our next podcast. I may try and do one from South America, but if not, there will be a podcast next week regardless. So have a great week, a good weekend, and we will see you next time.
See ya.